Matt George on here, just telling lies to the people watching the show on twitch.tv/ESPN1320, youtube.com/ESPN1320. I wish they would just let James Ham construct the media area. For those who have never seen it, it's very nice. We sit on like the about 20 rows above where Kenny sits, 25 rows above where Kenny sits.
I was right next to you the entire time last time.
Right there on the concourse. And there's like a row with a high table, and then there's a row with the low table. But the low table, like they're really, really close together.
Yeah.
So there's not like a lot of. I don't sit still very well, and so the great media people at the Kings, they put my seat next to Matt, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's in that first row, and it's like, hey, Mike, I'm just gonna stand over here if that's cool, because I just don't like. And then poor Sean Cunningham's got to get that 4,000-pound camera that he carries around with him out of there before halftime. Lord knows the amount of times I get up, so I prefer to stand.
2 minutes into the game, I look down. Hey, where's my boy at? Look to the side. Oh, he's just standing over there. Don't want nothing to do with me. He's just gonna watch the game from afar.
Not true. I spent 20 minutes before the game, 30 minutes before the game talking with Matt.
That might be accurate.
Damian watching the game like he Jeff Petrie.
No, I mean Damian's smart too, because that honestly
stand in the tunnel. Excuse me.
Damian's smart. Low key, it's a fire hazard. That getting out.
I'm saying.
And so there's only one side to get into that front row, because the other side is gated or blocked off because there's just stairs there. So you would step and fall like 5 feet on the stairs. So and they put like James and Anderson and Jason Jones used to all sit on that side. I'm like, y'all are dying first. If anything happens, like y'all are stuck because you can't get out. We got to file single file, and even then you can't get out. Like
James has got a saw in his bag. He'll probably just cut the table and clear a whole new like fire exit for everybody.
Also too, the tables are only like, I don't know measurements, but they're not very wide either. So you put a laptop and a camera down, it's like I have no more room. And if I bump anything, it's falling 10 feet and crashing on a fan's head that's sitting right up in front of me. So,
and all the media will be there to capture it. So they'll literally be right there to capture the entire story.
But the worst part of the Golden One Center is no cup holders upstairs. That's unforgivable. I'll never forgive that. That was the big thing.
That's fine. I just don't go upstairs because of the fear of walking up and down the stairs.
That's a good point.
Hey, you can go to this concert. It's an amazing concert. You just got to sit up there. Nah, I don't want to take my life into my own hands. It's cool. I'll watch it. I'll watch it when it debuts on Amazon Prime, like Kendrick Lamar did. Kendrick Lamar in Paris was on Amazon Prime. Yeah. It's worth your time.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. Okay. Turn it up really loud. Just pretend we weren't stupid and didn't go to the show.
Don't remind me.
That's so
Queen
dumb.
B got mad at me.
That's our biggest L. That's our biggest freaking
I can't
L.
believe he didn't come. We didn't go to the thing when he came to the.
It's our biggest L in the history of this show.
I tried. I tried.
He did.
I tried. I asked you if you were going to go, and you're like, I got to be responsible. Stupid.
Yeah. And I'm positive I did something financially irresponsible, like immediately following that conversation. Quite positive. Matt, Keegan Murray makes his debut in the starting lineup tonight. We're all hoping this is the night the Kings get their first win. It's obviously the latest in a string of tough matchups. How do things change for Sacramento now that Keegan is with that first group?
Well, first and foremost, they're putting their best foot forward. Like they're finally starting with their absolute best, and I think that's important. In these first 3 games, the Kings have trailed. Now, this isn't a completely tell the whole story conversation or statistic, but in these first 3 games, the Kings have led, or rather trailed, at the end of the first quarter 3 times. In the 2 games that Keegan Murray played, actually the Clippers game, the Kings had a 3-point lead when Keegan Murray came into the game around the 5 or 6 minute mark. In the Golden State Warriors game, the Kings were down 12-2 when Keegan Murray came into the game at the 8-minute mark. So I really think I understand why KZ Okpala was in there. I understand wanting to start with more of a defensive identity. The reality is the Sacramento Kings, I don't think are a good enough team to get that cute with it yet. Like, I think the Sacramento Kings need to put their best out there to open up games, to try and set the tone early. And the reality is, even if KZ Okpala is a better defender than Keegan Murray is, which I'll give him that at this point in time, it's not so steep of a drop-off that doesn't make Keegan's immediately 10 times better offense not way more worth it. for the Kings organization. So, and also, guys, I know you guys were discussing this yesterday too. Like, I think it's a big deal for Harrison Barnes too. Like, I think it helps Harrison a lot. Harrison drops down to the 5th option on offense, which is a good option to have there. Even if he's not shooting the ball well, Harrison is going to get open looks from 3, and I still trust him with those looks. You can still run him in the post, which I think the Kings should be trying to do more. They've gotten away from that this year, and he was pretty efficient with that at times in spot up opportunities last year. And finally, like when it comes to Harrison, like, I think this is a great opportunity for Harrison now to really focus in on the defensive end of the floor and recognize, okay, this is where you can make it a big impact right out of the gate, because Keegan is going to take a lot of the scoring load that, quite honestly, the Kings relied on Harrison and the rest of the team with KZ Okpala out there. So I think it's a great move across the board.
What do you think? And I agree with everything that you said right there, Matt. That was great analysis. What do you think happens to KZ Okpala now? Do you think he falls completely out of the rotation at this point?
I'm hearing rumblings and whispers that it's actually looking that way, which kind of surprises me. I've heard that there's a potential that, and we saw it with the comeback attempt against the Golden State Warriors, but it sounds like Chimezie Metu might be working his way or carving out an opportunity for himself in the rotation. We'll have to see if that actually plays out tonight. But it does seem like KZ Okpala is completely falling out, which I don't think it's necessarily a horrendous thing, but I also don't think it's totally fair, because that suggests that KZ was such a problem with that starting lineup that now he can't find a spot on the floor. I still think there are valuable spot minutes for KZ as a defender, especially with his versatility to be able to defend all 5 positions. The reality is, at times, KZ Okpala would not be a bad option to throw on John Morant tonight. So yeah. I still think there is a role and there's still opportunity for KZ. Mike Brown knows KZ better than all of us combined, so I trust Mike with that decision. But in terms of like consistent rotation, it sounds like there are going to be other options on the roster that are going to get more consistent playing time, and KZ is going to be more of a specialist, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Feels like the problem just comes down to what he does or doesn't do on the offensive end, and the fear that this team can't afford to play 4-on-5 on that side of the court.
Well, and I don't even think it's 4-on-5 either. I think it would be a lot less of an issue if Harrison Barnes wasn't struggling as much as he was or is. Sure. Like at this point, offensively, the Kings are kind of playing 3-on-5 with their starting lineup. And even so, they're still hanging around. Like, with the exception of the Warriors game, they haven't been getting their ass kicked right out of the gate, which was a consistent problem that we saw with Luke Walton's team from time to time, not to mention the third quarter and starting the third quarter big.
Oh, my gosh. Just sideswipe Luke for no reason.
Sorry, Luke.
It happens.
Sorry, Sue. Sorry, Luke. Actually, it might have been a problem with Dave Yeager a little bit too, but I don't remember. Just Luke. But like, I really think if Harrison Barnes were better and were playing better and were scoring more, I don't think KZ Okpala's offensive inefficiencies or drop off would be that significant. Because I do think KZ Okpala does good things on the defensive end of the floor, just not so good that it's making up for the fact that the Kings, outside of Fox, Herter, and even Sabonis, who's struggling, you could kind of at times say 2.5-on-5 offensively. Like, maybe, no, that's not fair.
And it keeps getting worse.
That's not fair. That's not fair, because Sabonis, so much of the offense runs through him, even when he's not scoring. So I'll say 3-on-5. But Keegan out there immediately makes it 4-on-5. He's already one of the more efficient shooters and go-to scorers on this Kings team, and that's going to be extremely important for the lineup, I think.
Harrison Barnes. We haven't talked to you about this. So, Matt, what's your thoughts on Harrison? What do you think the issue is? Is it something that you have confidence in that he's going to be able to kick out of starting now? Like, it needs to start tonight.
Yeah, I do have confidence in Harrison Barnes. I believe Harrison has enough. He's got enough experience. He's got a high enough basketball IQ. He's a smart enough guy and a good enough teammate to recognize when he needs to step up. Now, it's rare that we haven't had the opportunity to really talk to Harrison after a game. We usually are getting him every single night, or at least it's been that way in the past. So we haven't had to talk to him yet. We have heard from him in practice a little bit. But I know Harrison is aware of what he needs to do and how he's helping or not helping the team. And I believe he's going to be able to work his way out of it. And I think I said going into this offseason that I think Harrison Barnes as your 4th or 5th option is significantly better than Harrison Barnes as your 3rd option on offense. And I mean, he has been the 4th option, hasn't been good enough. Maybe the 5th option will help him open up that side of the game. And then defensively, like even though it was pretty consistent last season, it's been kind of consistent so far through the first 3 games. I don't believe Harrison Barnes is this bad defensively. Like, I just don't believe it. I know he's capable of playing so much better. I don't know if it's just a product of his environment or he's just lost a step because he's gotten older, but I don't believe that either because Harrison is in great shape and keeps himself in great shape. So I have confidence that Harrison is going to be able to work his way through this slump, and I'm encouraged, if nothing else. I don't believe in silver linings and moral victories. I'm not happy that the Kings are 0-3. But I do believe that there's some positives to the fact that one of your pillars in your rotation, Harrison Barnes is a pillar of the Kings rotation. He's a consistent presence in that rotation every single night. He's struggling that hard, as well as your 2-time All-Star and Domantas Sabonis, who has not looked that comfortable yet. And the Kings have still been in every single game that they have played. So not a silver lining, but I'm saying the Kings aren't that far from figuring it out if Harrison can get it going just a little bit, be a little more efficient. The Kings are in a significantly better spot.
Microphone on. I'm new to this. I'm sorry. Matt, do you think we see, obviously when you make a change to the starting lineup, that's pretty glaring. Anything following that will be a little bit more subtle, but do you think we see other changes tonight to Mike Brown's approach?
I think you're going to have to some extent, to stagger the lineup for that second unit. And I see someone, I can't see where it was in the chatty house, but they were right. They were saying like the depth of the Kings, which we were talking about as a massive strength for this team. It hasn't been that yet. That's okay. Yeah. There are a lot of new faces on this team, a lot of new players on this team. I expect them to take time to get used to one another, but it's my belief, D-Lo, that one of Fox, Sabonis, or Murray has to be on the floor at all times. I don't think Mike can get away at this point in time with all 3 of them being on the bench together, which is going to be interesting how he manages that now that Keegan is part of that starting unit. Now, the 3 of them definitely need to be on the floor together to start and end the game, especially if the game is close. But I don't think the Kings can get away with a stretch early in the second quarter or late in the third quarter where the 3 of them are on the bench together. You have to stagger them a little bit. And I think the 3-guard lineups that we've been seeing is something that Mike Brown should lean on a little more heavy, whether it's Malik Monk or Terrence Davis. Like, if you're bringing Keegan Murray or Harrison Barnes out of the game first, I think one of those 2 guards should be the first substitution in. You drop Kevin Huerter down to the 3, or maybe you play Terrence Davis at the 3 with Huerter at the 2 still, and give that a little more run. Because the Kings have really had their best stretches of offense with 3-guard lineups in, and then either Keegan or Barnes can hold down that 4 spot with Sabonis or Rashawn Holmes at the 5. But the reality is, with Keegan stepping into the starting lineup, Malik Monk, Terrence Davis, Davion Mitchell, those 3 in particular have to step up with more of a consistent offensive presence. They're aware of it. Malik is coming off of his best game as a King so far with the Golden State Warriors, where we saw what he can do both from the perimeter and putting the ball on the floor a little bit. So I'm hoping with more time, this group will be able to figure it out.
I look at a guy like Terrence Davis, and with the way that HB is playing right now, I look at the situation like that. We're not him starting over HB or nothing like that, but I don't know. Maybe Terrence Davis dips into some of those minutes. I mean, you're taking some away to the KZ Okpala minutes. So I know he only played 3 against the Warriors, but I think he played 18 against the Clippers. You're taking away maybe some of those minutes. You dip into about 4 or 5 minutes of what Harrison gets. And I think that's more time for Terrence Davis, and I think he can give you good minutes at both the 3 and the 2. If you kind of switch up, you allocate those minutes a little differently.
And it's not like there's going to be, as of right now, I do think Harrison Barnes should be and is a better defender than Terrence Davis, but he hasn't played like it by any means. So it's not like there's going to be that steep of a defensive drop off with either Davis or Monk in the game for Barnes at this point in time, and a more consistent offensive presence, at least to this point. So, I mean, we all expect the Kings to be better defensively. We all expect the Kings to not give up 89 points in a freaking half, for goodness sakes. And that's not acceptable by any means. And one of the things I tweeted out after the game, and it was my more pessimistic approach, is like, even though the Kings made a game of that at the end, even though they only lost by 5 points or whatever, like, they can't feel good about that. They can't leave going, well, at least we kept fighting. No, that's what you're expected to do. You're an NBA team. A game's 48 minutes long. I'm proud of you for continuing to fight. And I'm proud of Mike Brown for leaving the lineup in that got them there. Like that. I like that. But giving up 89 points in the first half, giving up 50 points in the second quarter, that's not acceptable no matter who you're playing. Even if it's the defending champs and Steph Curry is playing out of his mind and you can't defend without a ref blowing a whistle in your face every 30 seconds. Like, I get it. I understand the struggles. That's not acceptable. So the Kings should be much better defensively than that. But I also understand sometimes you got to play to your strengths a little bit too. And if your strengths are getting out, pace and space, running the floor, shooting the 3-ball, and if you're hitting and getting your better shooters out there, maybe lean into that for some stretches and see if you can build yourself a run.
I think it might be a little foolish for us, though, to expect too much from them defensively, because you said two things there. Giving up 89 points, obviously that's an extraordinary amount. I think we learned it was a record amount as well. We've seen them have terrible halves before. That was kind of on brand. The comeback was actually kind of on brand. Like they've done that in the past. Now there are plenty of other games where that 20-point lead turned into a 30-point loss. Like that's happened as well, and they were usually followed by Alvin Gentry press conferences saying, "We're not quitting." Alvin, who said anything about quitting?
Who asked you
what do you mean? But I wonder if, maybe I thought they were really good defensively against Portland. I thought they were pretty good against LA, though I don't think LA is they're not the Warriors in terms of, the way that they score. Like they're like a little, they're the old Triple H of the late 90s, the cerebral assassin. They'll break you down that way. So, the sample size on their defense is pretty small, though we believe it's gotten better. The evidence that it in fact has is minor. And that's the part that concerns me. And I think we'll get a clearer view tonight, especially if De'Aaron opens up on Ja, because a lot of us, me included, believe that De'Aaron has been playing defensively well. Like he's been busting his ass on the defensive end. And now we're going to get to see what that looks like against one of the top scorers in the league.
There's a famous line that Willie Cauley-Stein had when he was here, when Karl Anthony Towns dropped like 40-something points on the Kings. And after the game, we asked Willie about Cat's night, and Willie said, "Yeah, but I made him work for every bucket." And Cat missed maybe two. He had like one of the most efficient shooting nights of his career, missed maybe 2 or 3 shots, was like 40 points on like 16 shots or something like that. Just ridiculous night for Cat.
You worked hard on that 16 of 18 shooting.
And we laughed, like we all rolled our eyes and laughed because it's like, oh, that's such a Willie Cauley-Stein line. And I bring that up to say, like, Paul George had a freaking night going for 40. But the Kings made him work. Like he was hitting some ridiculously good shots, and the Kings threw a lot of different looks at him. I thought De'Aaron Fox had a couple of really, really promising possessions. You know what was my favorite part of that game, guys, was, and I tweeted this out because I was watching, at one point coming out of a dead ball. So it was a Clippers inbound, and Kevin Huerter was on Paul George. And before the ball was inbound, Fox comes up to Huerter and goes, "Switch with me. I got Paul." Like he took Paul and took that assignment on. And I thought, one, it's great to see your star stepping up like that, especially against a bigger wing. And Fox held his own, I thought, against Paul. Now, Paul still got the best of the Kings. That's no surprise. Paul George is one of the greatest shooters on the planet and one of the best offensive players on the planet. But like, I thought De'Aaron had some really good defensive possessions against him. I thought KZ Okpala had some really good defensive possessions against him. And Keegan Murray didn't back down from the challenge in crunch time in his first game of his career, and I thought did pretty well. And Paul was just hitting some really tough shots. So overall, like, even though I don't give the Kings defense a pass for giving up 40 points and losing a winnable game to the Clippers, I see what you're saying about, like, the expectations with the Kings defense need to be tapered a little bit, and we need to recognize when they are having some successes. I think we've seen some much better defensive stretches out of this team in these first 3 games than we've seen at any point over the last couple of seasons. That's promising. It's about putting that together at the right time, pairing that with good closing offense to actually close out a game and win. That's what's missing.
One quick note, Casey. Paul George had 40 in that one game. No one else was consequential for the Clippers. 2, Paul George had 40. De'Aaron had 36.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's important to the conversation. It's not like Paul George went out there and had 40 and the Kings had no answer.
Right.
No, De'Aaron Fox answered it. They didn't let anyone else work. They just the Clippers game was the game where they missed 57 or they only made 57% of their free throws.
Yeah. Matt talking about De'Aaron Fox telling Kevin Huerter, move, I got him. Shades of Chris Webber in Game 7 of 2002. Telling Vlade, move, I'm guarding Shaq. Didn't stop. Shaq,
Yeah, it didn't work.
But
Yeah,
still,
that
so
could
I
be-
love it.
that's-
I love it.
Do we have to bring that up? Like that didn't even. Is
That
there
felt
an example?
unnecessary.
Is there an example that worked? Like,
That was Lake Show Kenny that just came out.
like that was weird. It's like
I remember that moment. I was like, "Yeah, Chris, let's go. Let's go."
Kenny's like, yeah, I want one of them big ships, like the Titanic. Give me one of them. Give me that Hindenburg joint right there. Like, yo, Kenny, like, let's come up with something that works. Damn,
Speaking of,
brings
De'Aaron-
everybody down.
I got to bring him up now. I want to bring him up. Bring him up. Speaking of De'Aaron
Blue chew.
Fox. Okay. All right. Coos. Relax.
It's like dealing with a sophomore class.
I apologize.
Relax, Coos.
Sorry, Matt.
De'Aaron Fox. Sacramento Kings. It's the Memphis Grizzlies. De'Aaron Fox versus Ja Morant. A lot of people, when they bring that up and they talk about that matchup, they say, "Don't cover your eyes, Mac." There's nothing. Look, we talking about you covering your eyes. We talking about two of the top 10 scorers in the league right now, both averaging over 30 points a game. All right, that's what we talking about. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, because of Coffee Boy, thanks to Coffee Boy and his nonsense. Oh, why you got to pit these two against each other? Da, 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 da. I don't even know where that came from. Man, now it shouldn't even be about pitting them against each other. This is a dope matchup between two young point guards. I can't wait to see it. I don't think we saw it at all last year. In the past, we've seen it, and it brought the best out of De'Aaron Fox. What do you think we have in store this year for the first time, Fox versus Ja Morant?
Well, first off, anybody who ever makes comparisons or comments about De'Aaron Fox and Ja Morant and maybe Hulu commercials and things of that nature, those people need to be fired and not have a job. Second, it wouldn't be me, couldn't be me. No, I like what excites me. Take away all of the narratives outside of just who they are as players. It's two exciting, explosive guards who can punish you at the rim, going one-on-one against each other. Like, how is that not exciting? And in reality, like until last season, I think, and last season was such a blur that I've intentionally forgot so much, but like statistically, in the early stages of both their careers, De'Aaron has dominated that matchup, or the numbers have gone in De'Aaron's favor. Now, we know where the Memphis Grizzlies are and know where the Sacramento Kings are, so we don't need to go down that path any further than that. The point is that De'Aaron does get up for these games. And whether he wants to admit it or not, his reactions on social media, the things that have been said, we know that even if he doesn't have any issue with Ja Morant, and as far as I know, there is no issue between the two of them whatsoever. And there's no reason to present anything more than that. He hears that, and he knows that, and he wants to. That fires up some competitive drive, some competitive juices in him a little bit. So, and that's what I expect. But even more than that, Casey, like, here's how I look at tonight's game. De'Aaron has played like an all-star. De'Aaron has played like a superstar. His team is 0-3. That's not his fault. It's not fair. Like, so many more people should be talking about De'Aaron Fox than actually are. And if De'Aaron were playing in 29 other cities, I believe people would be talking about De'Aaron Fox more than they are right now. And that's the harsh reality of the Sacramento Kings situation. But here's the deal. Like, I don't want De'Aaron getting up just to get excited to play Ja Morant. I want De'Aaron getting up knowing that, hey, we got to get one, if not both, of these games this week at home after 3 days rest coming off of an embarrassing defensive performance, because we cannot afford to start the season 0-5 when 4 of the first 5 games are at home. Like that, if you want to be a good team, that can't happen. Yeah. I want De'Aaron to get up and locked in because of that. And I want the team to meet him there. Like, the team has not met him. Certain players have met him. Keegan Murray's met him. Kevin Huerter has met him. Domantas Sabonis to some extent has met him. The rest of the team has been lagging behind. It's time for the team to do De'Aaron Fox a favor. It's time for the organization to show De'Aaron Fox some love and get the man some damn wins so that he gets the recognition that he deserves for the numbers that he's been putting up and how well he's been playing on both sides of the ball. Like, I've been seeing people saying,
Matt George, I like it.
But people have been saying, like, empty numbers and things like that. And look, I get the Fox criticisms. I get the criticisms of good players on bad basketball teams. I get that. But De'Aaron is doing enough on both ends of the floor to win basketball games. And I don't care that he had 8 turnovers in the first game against Portland. De'Aaron Fox did enough in that game for the Sacramento Kings to beat the Portland Trailblazers. They didn't. De'Aaron Fox did enough for the Kings to beat Paul George and the Clippers. They didn't. Like the Golden State Warriors game, nobody did good enough in that game. Forget about that. So, like, to me, De'Aaron needs some help, and the Kings have to give it to him tonight, and I expect De'Aaron to be the same tonight against Ja or anybody as he has been in these first 3 games.
I'm with you. I like that. I like Matt. Turned up. Let's go.
When Matt says damn, oh, he's fired up.
Gee dang it.
He's really fired up when he says damn. You mentioned KZ Okpala earlier and the potential of him on Ja Morant. Another guy that I'm looking for is Davion. Harrison is caught in a lot of slack. I think Davion has had some good non-box score games for sure. I think Portland being an example. I want to see Davion have a good box score game.
Yeah.
Because he's capable, and we know that he is. And there might be, depending on how the lineup goes for with Keegan Murray in the starting lineup. Now, there could be some more scoring opportunities for him. I would prefer his scoring opportunities come as he's trying to get to the basket. But Davion is another guy I want to see something from tonight.
Yeah. I would love your guys' thoughts on this because I feel like I might have a naturally too low of a bar, too low of expectations for Davion, and not in a condescending or rude way, but like I've been watching Davion play. Defensively, we know what he brings, and he's done well for the most part. Offensively, he runs the Kings the same way De'Aaron Fox runs the Kings. We haven't had to see the Kings switch up a lot, even if the scoring has dropped off with that second unit, mostly because of the talent has not stepped up as much, himself included. His scoring has not nearly been good enough, and that's the major area where he needs to improve. But I haven't looked at Davion as that bad in these first 3 games. And then I've gone back and looked at the numbers and gone, oh, wait a minute, you need a lot more from someone who's that important. So I'm curious, like, what have you guys seen when actually watching? Like, take the stats out of it. When you're watching Davion, are you seeing good but not enough? Because I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing he's been okay. He hasn't been dreadful or nothing like that. But I haven't seen a whole lot of impact.
That's a great word.
Yeah,
that's a great word.
Yeah, just hadn't seen enough from it, and I think he's capable of a little bit more. And I just haven't seen enough of it so far.
I think he can be an impactful player. And I think that's the part we were alluding to there a moment ago. Like we've seen him be impactful on the defensive side of the ball plenty of times. We saw him be impactful when De'Aaron Fox was out, and I think Tyrese was gone during that final stretch of the season last year. We saw how impactful. Now, those situations are different, so it's not an apples to apples comparison. But we know he can do it. And if that second unit is as good as we believe it is with guys like Malik Monk, Terrence Davis, and a sprinkle of the starters, I think Davion has the capability to be that impact player.
I do too. I mean, and we know that, like, because he's had moments. He had a really nice moment in the Clipper game where he showed off his mid-range game that he hadn't really shown off too much. He put the ball on the floor, had a kind of a crossover, step back, lost his man, hit a jumper, and was like, okay, let's see if Davion can get his offense going a little bit. I don't remember him doing anything else offensively from that point on, and that was in like the second quarter of the game. So, like, you expect more out of Davion. I think I have realistic expectations of. I didn't expect Davion to be a 14, 15, 16 plus points per game scorer like he showed at the end of last season. But I don't think it's out of the realm of expectations or possibility to expect him to be a double-digit scorer on a nightly basis. Because if you're getting 10 points, 11, 12 points from Davion Mitchell with his defense and his 3 to 4 assists and his ability to run the same kind of offense that De'Aaron does off the bench, I think you're getting more than what you could ask for out of Davion. And then in spot moments, you can have him out there to close games when you need his defense, or if he's having a good night offensively. Like, it's the bar's not that high for Davion. I just think I need to lower or raise my personal bar for him a little bit more, because I've been okay with what I've seen. But the reality is especially now that Keegan Murray is a starter, the Kings are going to need a lot more out of him. Malik Monk too.
Yeah. Malik, I want to see Malik play more like he did on Sunday, as opposed to Saturday. Sunday, he was in the flow of the game. He was confident. He was just trusting the game a little bit more and looking, to be who he is. He's a microwave type player off the bench. And I thought what we saw on Sunday is the type of Malik Monk that we should be getting every single night. Just the confidence in the feel for the game that he played with on Sunday night.
If you are Mike Brown and you're kind of managing your rotations, and again, I know this is really situational, but let's say that Keegan Murray's off to a good start offensively, and Harrison is pretty status quo to what he's been, or maybe he's a little bit better. He's just average. The first move off your bench is one of those two guards. Who is it, and who are they replacing?
The first move off the bench is one of those two guards. You said,
like, for me, it's like I would put Malik Monk into the game at the 2, drop Herter to the 3, Keegan at the 4, Sabonis at the 5, Fox at the 1, and see what that stretch lineup looks like. Because I think that lineup is potentially the best offensive lineup the Kings can put out there. But I think Terrence Davis has been really good.
Yeah, I might go Terrence Davis. And the first guy out is Harrison, for sure.
I think Malik, I think Malik had a goose egg, didn't he? Like he had a 0-point performance. Was it against the Clippers? Maybe.
Yeah, Clippers. Or he had it really low, maybe 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, it was something. But like he's another guy where, yeah, like where's the guy from LA?
Mm-hmm.
Where
I want to see him turn up.
Yeah, where's that dude? Like,
I saw a little bit of that on Sunday.
And again, you talk about. I don't think asking Davion to do these things, asking Malik Monk to do these things, is asking these guys to do anything out of what they're capable of, right? Like, we're not asking them to be De'Aaron. We're not asking them to be LeBron. We're not asking them to be a Giannis Antetokounmpo or something like that. Yo, we saw Malik do this. Do it now.
Yeah,
that's what they brought you here for. Like, do that now. And I think he will, and I think he's capable. And have we seen that lineup that you just referenced? I mean, we only it would have had to have been in one of the last 2 games, but I don't
like it was in the first quarter. Well, I don't know if Herter was out there, but I think that in the second part of the first quarter
of the Clippers game,
of the Warriors game.
Okay,
I feel like we saw that because Sabonis started playing really well. I know Monk has some. I don't think Fox was in. I think it was just Davion, though.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with Matt. I'd like to see that lineup.
I'm good with that.
If we haven't, yeah.
And going back to opening night, obviously Keegan Murray didn't play, but when the Kings went on their really big run in the second quarter on opening night, it was a Fox. It might have been Fox, Mitchell, Herter, Davis, because I think it was a 4-guard lineup that they were running at the time because Murray was not available, and then Sabonis was playing at the 5, and that group scored a lot of points. They were getting out in transition. They were hitting a lot of threes. So that's where I just believe a 3-guard lineup minimum is not necessarily going to be the go-to quote unquote death lineup for the Kings. But if the Kings need quick points, Terrence Davis, you can insert in there. Malik Monk, you can insert in there. And that's what they should be doing, not what they can do. It's what they should be doing when you have those many threats out there on the floor together.
I agree.
The Kings have had death lineups in the past. That's just usually where the game went and died.
Oh,
got him.
I'll be here all week, folks. Thank you. I told Matt this on Saturday, whatever day I saw Matt's when I told him. But I'll say it now. If you're not a subscriber of the Locked On Kings YouTube channel, Matt does a lot of his Locked On Kings podcast, like at the arena after the game, and it's pretty cool because I know Matt likes to get these podcasts posted after the game, and man, this is gonna be a long night for my guy. And I went and pulled it up, and you had the arena as a backdrop, and it's a pretty cool visual, man. You're doing a good job with that. I really enjoy it.
Oh, I appreciate it. No,
I enjoy watching it the next morning.
Thanks for staying up. Oh, wait a minute, you're Damian Barling. No, I had to do it up on the concourse, which is actually honestly a kind of cooler view. I did it down on the court the first couple of times, and I got to work on the lighting on the court because the light is like straight down on top of your head. So it looks like I have like a Batman mask on with how dark my eyes are. So I got to work on that. But no, it's fun to do stuff out there, and it's cool because all the Golden One Center cleanup crew is phenomenal. Like the work that they do, they're incredibly nice people, and they're always out there working. And I can see some of them listening. And there was a guy I was talking about something opening night, and either he was not happy with what I was saying and disagreed with me, or he was like, "You're right," and that sucks because he was just shaking his head while he was working right in front of me. I'm like, well, this guy's my audience now, and I think I'm pissing him off. So,
live studio audience.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. That's Matt George. You can check out the Locked On Kings podcast wherever you get podcasts from. Matt will be out there tonight at the Golden One Center, and of course his coverage over on ABC 10. You feel good about tonight's game?
I do. I feel good about being a viewer of tonight's game. I think
I
tonight's
haven't
game,
felt bad about any of them, to be honest.
I haven't. Neither have I. Like, and it's weird because I've in all three of the not the most recent one, but the two of the first three games, I felt good after the games, even though they lost. It's like I want to be positive. I want to be more positive than I am.
I was a little annoyed by the Warriors game. Like I didn't put a lot of stuff. I was like, oh, this is, all right, you guys came. It was a 5-point game. Like it's fine. I meant to watch it back after you said you watched it, but I just haven't gotten to that.
Kings win tonight, baby.
Okay.